Hello, everybody. Today is the 31st of January 2026, and this is the 217th session of Mindfulness for Beginners in English conducted by Nissarana Vanaya. I would like to welcome Venerable DhammaKusala Thero to this session and everyone who's joining via Zoom and watching our live stream session or our recorded sessions later on. Our program, as usual, will commence with in-session practice of mindfulness. This will be followed by the talk on today's topic. And finally, if we have time, we will move on to questions after we present the reports to Bhante. So to begin today's session, I now invite Bhante to start the in-session practice of mindfulness.
Thanks, Sonali. Hello, everyone. So let's start today's session with the mindful sitting practice. For this, feel free to turn on video and join more actively. We are going to spend about 15 or so minutes practicing mindful sitting. You sit in a comfortable manner. Make sure that your body is balanced and comfortable. Then you can gently close your eyes. You are seated and you have your eyes closed. Bring your attention to the present moment and simply notice what you feel there. You might hear surrounding sounds. And naturally, some bodily sensations will become prominent. For some of you, it will be the breathing sensations near your nostrils. For some of you, it might be the movements of your belly. Notice how the breath goes in. Notice how it comes out. This way you try to be mindful of your breathing sensations. Time to time, the attention goes to other things, thoughts, memories, future planning. These things appear. Drowsiness is common, and sometimes certain irritations in your body. But among all these things, you can return your attention back to the breathing. Once again, you can feel how the breath goes in. You can feel how it comes out. Let's continue for a few more minutes. Okay, everyone. That's our time for a mindful sitting session today. With that, we can move forward. Sonali, you can take over.
Thank you, Bante. So next, we have the talk on today's topic. We started this topic last week. It's on tea. So let's move on to this topic. I now invite Bante again to start the topic.
Okay, everyone. So this is a continuation from last week. And this week also we'll take some time to discuss the same topic. Now, let's say in our daily encounters, our minds are so busy. We have many thoughts, many plans, many memories in our minds. In addition to those mind-made objects, we have surrounding sounds. Then sights are there. Yes, so surrounding sounds, sights, various bodily sensations, then odors, taste. This way many objects are there. Many objects work simultaneously. So that's how our minds operate. And most of the time, due to this crowded nature, we don't get to see the true nature, or we don't get to see clearly, because the minds are crowded with all these different objects. That's how most of the people spend their time. They are distracted in their minds, and in a compulsive manner they operate. They work, they think, they talk. That's how most of the time we function. It's like a muddy pond. The water is cloudy, the water is muddy. So due to that, you don't see things clearly. Right? So that's what Buddha gives a simile of a muddy pond. Due to the muddy nature of the pond, due to this cloudy nature of the water, you don't get to see things clearly. Right? So our minds are same. It's clouded with many objects, it's muddy with many objects, and due to that, we don't see things clearly. We don't see how we operate. We don't see how we talk. We don't see how we think. It just happens in a compulsive nature. Right? So this idea of a muddy pond is recreated in the concept of mind jar. Mind in a jar. I'm sure you have seen it. So you have a clear bottle and some glitter powder representing various mind objects, and adding some water and some glue, you can simply create a mind jar. And when that mind jar is shaken, it becomes cloudy, and due to that, you don't get to see through. The transparent nature disappears. The water becomes muddy. That way, the Buddha's simile of a muddy pond is recreated in the concept of mind jar. And although that's how many people operate, the whole idea behind this pond is that if you train your mind properly, if you know how to create this clear nature, the transparent nature, then you are able to transform this mind. Then Buddha goes on to give another simile, which is a clear pond. The water is not cloudy, water is not muddy, the pond is clear, and as a result, you get to see things properly. You can see how things are working, how fishes are swimming, what are the things inside the pond, right? Simply because the water is clear, the water is having that transparent nature. And same goes for the mind jar. If you simply allow it to settle for a while, then you can see the glitter settles to the bottom of the jar and the water gradually becomes clear and transparent. It happens, right? So that way, if you know the proper training, if you know the proper catalyst, then you can transform this muddy mind or the muddy pond into a clear pond. That's the whole idea of our mindfulness training. The catalyst to transform this mind is simply mindfulness. Simply practicing that, allowing the mind to see things properly. That's the whole idea. So let's say a newcomer, according to the practice instructions, they simply go for a walking session and they start walking in a natural way. And while walking, they try to remember the feet, feel the feet. You can feel the texture, temperature of the ground. You can feel which parts of your feet is touching the ground. That way you simply try to hold your attention with this neutral, mundane object. The sensations of your feet. It's a mundane object. It doesn't grab your attention that much. Instead, various other things, thoughts, memories, future planning, surrounding sights, sounds, they grab the attention much easily. And same goes for the sitting. You sit in a comfortable manner, you close your eyes and try to simply bring your attention to the breathing sensations, which is a neutral sensation, which is a mundane object. And when you do that, you can see repetitively various other interesting objects come to your mind and grab your attention. So that's how a beginner will start their practice. That experience is natural to a beginner, but we have to encourage them simply to continue. Don't get discouraged only by practicing a day or two. Instead, every day, try to take 20-30 minutes and try to sit. Try to walk and see whether you can be mindful of your steps. That way, repetitive practice. Not within a day, full day. Instead, you do 30 minutes, 1 hour daily. Then you take a break and once again tomorrow, you can spend 1 more hour. Then again take a break, and day after tomorrow, you can spend 1 more hour. That way, gradually, you train yourself with repetitive practice. And when you do that, it becomes much easier. You feel like your mind was all over the place, but now you are able to observe few breath cycles mindfully, or you are able to observe few steps mindfully. That way, this ability, this skill, you can develop with this gradual approach. Most of the beginners, they expect quick results. They want to see results on their first day. They want to see results on their first retreat. But that's not practical, because you have been with a muddy mind for a long time, maybe many decades. And suddenly you come for a retreat and you expect that mind to magically change, which is not reasonable, which is not practical. So you have to take a gradual approach towards this. You don't worry about progressing in the practice that much. Instead, every day you spend 20-30 minutes doing a sitting session, 20-30 minutes doing a walking session. And when you continue for a few days, probably a week or so, then you get to see that you are becoming much better at it. And that's how the practice works, right? So gradually you develop this ability. And initially, the beginners, they do a lot. As meditation or as mindfulness, they do a lot. The walking, they try to do many things. They try to walk in a certain rhythm. They try to maintain attention on the steps. So that way, a lot of doing is involved. Even in the sitting, that's how it happens. There was a foreigner a few days ago, and he was new to the practice of meditation. And in his sitting, although the eyes were closed, he was complaining about the tightness in the eyes. He was saying that in order to pay attention to my breathing, I have to look towards the breathing in my eyes. So I was a bit confused what this fellow was saying. So I asked him, aren't your eyes are closed during the sitting session? Then he said, yes, the eyes are closed, but in order to pay attention to the breathing, I have to direct my eyes towards that place, something like that, right? So various complications are there in people's minds, and initially a lot of doing is involved. Tightness in the head, tightness in the eyes. They don't see the natural rhythm of it. They don't get to see the natural flow of it, right? But that's okay. That's how it works. And when you practice for a while, you get to see how you can naturally approach the practice of mindful walking and sitting. Instead of creating additional stress, it should be a time for you to relax. You simply relax yourself in the walking. You simply relax yourself in the sitting. That's how the practice should be developed, right? So gradually you develop that ability. Gradually you become better at it. And all the doing fades away. It becomes more like a process that's happening, right? Instead of the doer, you become one with the flow, with the process, that's happening. That way, less and less doing is involved and more happening you would experience in the practice. You can see sometimes various thoughts are happening. Many people, they try to take responsibility for these thoughts. You feel like you are responsible. That's how you have trained yourself. I get these thoughts. I'm responsible for these thoughts. And people are talking about intrusive thoughts. Thoughts to harm other people. Those thoughts to destroy things that you have. That way, intrusive thoughts are there. Then some people might come and say, I have suicidal thoughts. I get them repetitively and it's difficult for me to manage them. That way, we have trained ourselves in the worldly ways and we are taking responsibility for these thoughts. That's how we have trained. But in this practice, when you mature into the practice, you get to see that many of these thoughts are happening without my involvement. Whether I like it or not, these thoughts are happening. And sometimes you can see a certain gray area between the happening thoughts and the thinking thoughts. Thinking thoughts are, in a way, have some responsibility because you are encouraging that thought process. You keep spending your energy, attention towards that thought process. You keep proliferating about that incident, right? So these things might be thinking thoughts, but initially the thoughts are simply happening, right? So in the practice we say happening thoughts are okay. You don't have to worry about them. Let them happen. And you simply refrain from thinking thoughts, right? So there is a gray area between these two. Sometimes the thoughts start as happening thoughts, and at a certain point you start thinking on top of that, right? So initially it was out of your responsibility, but at a certain point you claim the responsibility for this one. Then you start thinking, proliferating on that same initial thought, right? So there's a gray area, and sometimes it's harder to differentiate whether this is a thinking thought or whether this is a happening thought. But in the practice, it's an interesting aspect of the practice for you to understand the difference between these two. Almost like all the thoughts are initially happening. Then some of them simply disappear, and some of them we start adding on top of that, and we start thinking, right? So this way, these thoughts, majority of them, you don't have to take the responsibility. These thoughts are coming whether I like it or not. These thoughts are coming uninvited, right? So in the practice, it's important for you to understand the happening thoughts, and for them, you don't have to be responsible. For example, let's say in a walking session, you can see many thoughts are rushing towards you. You try to take responsibility for them. You say, my walking session is disturbed by these thoughts. By that very statement, you're taking responsibility. But in the practice, we say it's okay to have those type of happening thoughts. Let them come and go. make sure that you are not adding onto them. If you try to suppress these thoughts, in a way you are adding onto them. If you complain, become irritated by these thoughts, in a way you are adding on to them. Right? So you have to find that delicate balance where you simply allow these things to happen, but amidst them, you try to continue with your mindfulness. That way, at a certain point of the practice, you can simply master this ability, and you get to see how these thoughts are coming uninvited, and after a while, how they are ceasing without your approval. This is how the thoughts work. Right? Time after time, various past incidents, various meaningful thoughts, various bits and pieces of thoughts, various things are coming. They come, you allow them to come, but you don't have to be responsible for them. You don't have to complain about them. You don't have to suppress them. Let them come and go. Among them, you try to be mindful that these thoughts are happening. Among them, you try to anchor yourself towards the breathing. That's the practice. And let's say, when you master or when you mature in this approach, little by little, you get to see how many mind objects are there. It feels like a never-ending flow, maybe like a river flowing. Many mind objects are coming. The sights are coming, the sounds are coming, the thoughts are coming, the bodily sensations are coming. Right? In a way, in a flow state, you get to see like a stream of mind objects. This stream, it consists of thoughts. It has bodily sensations. It has sounds, maybe even odors, taste. Everything flows as a stream. We can simply say flow state kind of experience, right? And when you have such experiences, you get to see how many mind objects are there. Some of them you haven't even noticed. Last weekend I went to a certain temple, and there some newcomers were there, and we did a mindfulness session for them. And one of them, in the discussion, was saying, Bante, I could notice many bird songs. So many birds are there in the surroundings. Right? So those birds, they have been there for a long time. These people, they have been in the temple for a long time. But for the first time, they are noticing the bird songs. Because earlier the attention was not given to those things. They were in the background. But when you have this openness in your mind, when you develop your mindfulness into a certain level, you get to see how many mind objects are flowing each and every moment. And when you see that, most of the people, they get overwhelmed by that. They feel like their minds are breaking. I remember one person was saying, probably in the sitting practice, during probably like a minute of a time period, many hundreds of thoughts were coming in his mind. And he was complaining, Bante, I don't know what's happening. Due to this meditation, I feel like my mind is broken. Many thoughts are rushing towards me every moment, every minute. I can feel that. Right? So this person thinking that this is something happened due to the meditation. But actually, that process has been there for a long time. But only with the improved mindfulness, you get to see how this process works. Or in other words, when the pond is clear, you can see how everything is working. You can see how the fishes are swimming. In a muddy pond, you don't get to see anything. Right? So it's not some issue that they are experiencing with the meditation. Instead, due to the improved awareness, you get to see how the mind works, how the mind functions. And it's not always a pleasant experience. Right? So these mind objects, hundreds and thousands of them are flowing each and every moment. Sometimes you wonder how many sounds are there in the surroundings. Many insect sounds, many bird sounds, many vehicle noises are there. It feels like they are new, but they have been there for a long time. Only now you are coming up to speed with them. So this way, when your mindfulness improves, you can see how many mind objects are flowing each and every moment. It's a game of probability. Many sounds are thrown at you. Many bodily sensations are thrown at you. Many thoughts are thrown at you. Many odors, tastes are thrown at you. So out of them, you simply get caught in one or two. Many hundreds of objects are coming each and every moment. You don't get caught in all of them. Instead, one or two objects catch your attention. And you say, I get a thought. I was thinking about you. Something like that. Or maybe planning tomorrow's agenda. Or hearing some voice from somebody. Feeling a toothache in your body. Right? So this way, many thousands of objects are coming each and every moment. We are not getting caught in all of them. But instead, we get caught in one or two objects. And according to the object that we catch, we start telling a story. If you catch a good object, then you will say, I got a good thought earlier today, and I was thinking about this. If you get a bad thought, you will say, okay, I was feeling depressed due to this thought in the morning. Whatever you are getting caught in, that's how you experience this world. That's how you experience the life. But you don't see the thousands of objects that are forgotten in each and every moment. You don't see that. right? But in mindfulness practice, when that openness develops, you see how many objects are thrown at you in each and every moment. And these objects are everything that you experience. Whatever you get caught in, that's what you experience. You don't experience even the things, the background things, the things that are forgotten. Instead, you experience the things that you get caught in. Right? So these things we experience, we say, I got these type of thoughts today. I was thinking about this matter today. I was experiencing certain music sounds today. That way you say. But everything you experience is simply the objects of your mind. Those are the objects that are thrown at you. And you get caught in one or two of those objects. And each and every moment you say, this is what I experience. You don't even see the objects that are simply forgotten. Right? So whatever you experience, they are simply mind objects. That's the whole idea. Even let's say today, you have spent some hours in the day. Whatever you have experienced today, all of them, they were mind objects. In a way, you weren't experiencing the mind. You are experiencing mind objects. That's all you experience. If these objects are good, you say, my day is a good day today. I'm happy, I'm peaceful. If these objects are bad, then you say it's a bad day, I feel worried. Right? So whatever you have experienced today, all of them, they are simply mind objects. But when you think about the mind, who is the master? The mind is the master. That's the true master. But what happens is simply these mind objects, they become the master of the mind. That's why you say, I get depressed thoughts. So those thoughts are becoming the master of the mind. In reality, the mind is the master, but we don't get to see that. Right? So this way, all these mind objects, they claim to be the master. Many of them, they fail. But once in a while, an object wins. And that object becomes the master of your mind. Whatever you have experienced today, all of them, they were simply mind objects. And they were controlling your mind. That's why I say those mind objects simply become the master of your mind. They become the master. And according to them, you have a story to tell. You say, I feel like this, I want to do these things, I have these plans. All of them are simply becoming slave to those mind objects. The true master is the mind, but we don't get to experience that. Instead, all these mind objects, they try to become the master, and thus begins your slavery. You can see how the various sounds are coming and becoming master. You can see how various sights are coming and becoming the master of this mind. You can see how various thoughts, plans, memories are coming and becoming the master of this mind. You can see how bodily sensations are coming becoming the master of your mind. So this way, the true master is the mind, but it is forgotten, and simply these mind objects, they become the master of your mind. Right? So if you don't know this, if you haven't experienced this in your meditation, then you simply become a slave to whatever the mind objects that you have. You can see some people destroying their whole life, what they have developed, spending blood and sweat. They destroy within couple of minutes. Why? A certain thought became the master of their mind. I got angry and I killed this person. Right? All those things are simply momentary. But this emotion, this thought takes the control of your mind and simply becomes the master. Right? So if you don't know how to deal with these mind objects, if you don't know the true master of the mind, then naturally you get consumed by these mind objects. So that's why the quote says, though many people drink tea, if you don't know the way of tea, the tea will drink you up. So tea is a simile for these mind objects. Right? So you feel like you are drinking tea. You feel like you are controlling these mind objects. But if you don't know the way of tea, if you don't know the mindfulness, then gradually you get consumed by all these mind objects. The tea will drink you up. That's what happens. That's what happens when you get depressed. Right? Depression, is it in the present moment? No, due to some past incident. You keep thinking about it. You create various scenarios in your mind. And gradually those scenarios will consume you. Right? Maybe you'll have to go for medication instead of the meditation. Doctors will prescribe you something and you simply drink that and drowsiness will come. You sleep through the day. And as long as you are taking the meditation, you can't think properly. And due to that, you are safe. You feel like you don't feel so depressed. Right? So the depression is simply tea drinking you up. The mind objects become the master and it drinks you up. Not only the depressions, whatever the issues, problems that you're experiencing in your life, they are simply these objects becoming the master. The tea drinking you up. Right? So you have to know the practice. You have to know how the mind works. If you know that, then you will know the way of tea or way of life. If you don't know the way of tea, if you don't know the way of life, then you are at risk. The tea will drink you up. These mind objects will consume you little by little. Right? So that's why the mindfulness, the way of tea or the way of life is important. You develop your mindfulness and you simply give these mind objects their rightful place. They have a rightful place in the mind. They are not the master of the mind. The mind is the master. And these thoughts, these plans, all these things, they have a rightful place in the mind. If they don't know that, then they will gradually start consuming you. All these mind objects, they end up consuming the mind. And no matter how much you go and argue, a worldly person, they can't feel the difference. They will say, I feel sadness and it is real. I feel anger and it is real. Of course, they feel it real because their minds are consumed by the mind objects. Right? So you have to develop this ability to be mindful. Gradually, you reclaim the ownership of your mind. You reclaim the ownership to the correct master. The correct master of the mind is simply the mind, not the mind objects. Right? So that nature, that ability you have to develop gradually and improve. And when that happens, you can see, although these mind objects are there, they don't have much energy and they don't end up consuming you. The tea won't end up drinking you up. That's the whole idea. Right, so that's it for today. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Bhante. That was a much needed session on how we can not be consumed by our thoughts and overwhelmed by our thoughts, and how to take control of it, of your mind. So now next on the agenda, we move on to reports that we have received from all of you, and to present them to Bhante for his feedback. And at the end, we will have, if we have time, we will move on to some questions. To start this session, I now invite Samantha to read the questions. I will share the screen, Samantha. Samantha, are you able to unmute?
Yes, thank you, Sonali. I couldn't unmute earlier on. That's right. Yeah, I can do that now. Lovely. Thank you, Bhante. That was amazing. That was a wonderful talk on the power of mindfulness and its benefits, and how we can just how we are consumed if we are unmindful. Really looking forward to practicing and learning what Bhante just experiencing what Bhante just told us about. And so before I go on to read the question, Bhante, Avasarai Bhante, I would just like to just remind people of the practice of mindfulness and what Bhante has been talking about, and how people can use the advice to their benefit, and the guidance, what Nissarana Vanaya has actually put in on their website, which Sonali has just put in the chat as well. And I'm sure by now you all are very familiar, but for any newcomers, just want to go through the basic guidance, how to be practice of mindfulness, and submit your experiences to Bhante in the form of a report, and then Bhante can give valuable guidance and advice how to progress in your meditation and to improve mindfulness. So all the details are in the chat. You can see there are two helpful video links put together by Nissarana Vanaya, both on sitting, on mindful walking and mindful sitting. And as explained, you can allocate some time for the practice daily, just like Bante explained, starting with 20 and then gradually building up to 2 hours a day. That would be really beneficial, starting with walking meditation and then going on to sitting meditation. Um, and you can then submit your experiences in writing, both on mindful walking and on mindful sitting to Bante. There's an example on how to do this in the chat. For example, if you're walking, you can describe any prominent sensations, texture of the ground, any pressure points on the soles, how the body weight shifted, just like Bante explained earlier on in the process, in the guidance. And similarly, in sitting meditation, again, you can refer to any prominent sensations of the breath, where the breath is incoming and outgoing, as example, at the nostrils, or if it's at the rising of the abdomen, etc. So write down any the mindful experiences also on your daily activities, how you are mindful during the day. That's also a part of mindfulness practice, meditation, and that's also very important. Then in the session, Bante will give valuable guidance to your own questions and your own practice, and on how to progress. So these are valuable sessions, so it'll be good to make use of these sessions and gain advice and guidance. You can send your reports either in the Google form or by email. All the links are provided in the chat, as you can see there. So this is a good opportunity to progress your meditation and by gaining personal guidance from Bante, and you can continue with your mindfulness practice during the week according to the advice given to your report during the session. Finally, the recordings of the sessions are also available at the link given in the chat. So you can always go back and re-listen and catch up. So that's really helpful. So now, Bante, I will go on to read the reports. There's one report that we have received by an adult. And also I should mention that if you have any questions, put your questions in the chat and I can read it out to Bante. We can either put it in the chat or send it to me directly, or raise your hand and using the Zoom hand, and then unmute yourself. We can unmute yourself and then unmute you, and then you can ask any questions from Bante. Also, any questions on today's valuable topic. You can also ask Bante any questions on that at the end. So now I will just go on to the report that we received. The first report we received, and the one that's the only one we received, is by an adult, Bante. It says, Venerable Swami Mahansa, scraping coconut mindfully. When I took the coconut, I felt heaviness of it. The shell was rough and hard. It was a bit cold. When I was scraping, I saw coconut whitely in the bowl. At the end, it was a bit brownish. When I was scraping, I heard a noise. My left palm held the shell tight, and left arm put the effort to hold. Right palm held the handle and it rotated. That's the end of the question. Thero Saranai Utum Swami Mahansa. That's the end of the report, Bante.
Yes, so these type of daily activities, we do many such things in a day, and it can become a part of your practice. In a way, a crucial part. Because although you do meditate for a couple of hours even, you have 22 more hours in a day. If you are simply careless in your approach, then instead of the mindfulness, you are developing unmindfulness during those hours. So we encourage you to approach these activities carefully, mindfully. And it's not that difficult. It becomes more like a hobby when you train yourself in it. And all your complaints about not having enough time to meditate will disappear. Why? Because these simple, mundane activities become your meditation. Simply becoming mindful. How many meals are we eating every day? How many drinks are we drinking every day? How many occasions of walking, sitting are there in a day? Right? So gradually, you develop this ability to be mindful in them. And that develops more like a hobby instead of formal meditation. And that hobby can bring you eternal peace. That's the whole idea. So these simple activities, even when you hear the report, there's no majestic details in it. Simply scraping coconuts. That's all. But that very observation can bring you eternal peace. So that's the way of the practice. That's how it works. Most of the people, they think that they'll have to go through a miracle in meditation. Right? That there's this same story. Somebody comes and asks from a teacher, what is complete awareness or full awakening? Something like that. I can't exactly remember the question. A similar question. And the master answers, you are awake when you walk. You are awake when you eat. You are awake when you brush your teeth. You are awake when you drink your tea. That's the complete awareness. Right? So that way, these simple activities, these mundane, repetitive activities can become your meditation, and that approach can really do marvels in your mind. Because formal meditation, no matter how many hours you do, still it'll be a smaller portion of your whole day. Right? So many hours, if we approach carelessly, then we are developing unmindfulness. So these mundane, repetitive activities, approach them carefully, approach them mindfully, and as a result, you can develop eternal peace with it.
Thank you, Sonali. I couldn't unmute again. Thank you, Bante, for that helpful advice. We've got 2 more questions. I'll read them out now in the chat. There's the first one from Dihantha. It's more of a comment. he says, I'll just read it out. It's not a question, simply a comment. All this time, I thought thoughts were thoughts. Now I understand they can be seen as thinking thoughts and happening thoughts. An amazing insight shared, Bhante. I will look to observe these mindfully at my next sitting practice. Much gratitude, Sadhu.
Yes,
That was
so
from
you
Giham
get this
Thero.
idea,
Yeah,
you get this teaching, and the correct way is simply for you to go into your daily practice and see how this works. Identify the difference between these two, right? Many people, they find it difficult to identify the difference. There's this gray area, as I explained earlier. Initially, whatever the thoughts, they are most of the time simply happening thoughts. They come without your invitation. But on top of that, you start adding, right? So that adding part, it feels more like a gray area. So it's gonna be a long experiment, but that's the whole idea about this practice or noble experiment. So you go and practice in your daily life. You come and give a feedback. Then once again, you go and practice. That way we'll have to go through this same loop many times. And that's how the true experiences will develop. Yes, thank you for adding that comment.
thank you, Bhante. Must say I felt the same similar thinking as well. Bhante opened up a new explanation that I'd like to explore. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And also, Gihanta has also just added on another comment after that. And I presume our cravings and aversions help to turn happening thoughts into thinking thoughts, proliferation, and our life experience. So I think that was what Bhante was just explaining.
Yes, so those things, according to our own liking, we don't have the same kind of liking, same kind of craving. It differs, and according to our liking, we get caught in a certain thought, and we start proliferating, right? So everybody is not proliferating on the same thought. Instead, for someone, a certain thought is simply forgotten. For someone else, it's a great source of proliferations, right? So this minds are unique. We don't have the same way of experiencing these things. So many complications are there in each and every one of our minds, right? So that's why you have to go and you have to see your own ways of working. Nobody else can do it for you, right? Because you have a unique way of functioning in your own mind. So you have to see how it works. You have to see your own aversions. You have to see your own cravings. You have to see your own triggers, right? So that's the way of the practice. Good luck and see how
Thank
it
you,
works.
Bhante. That's very helpful advice, Bhante, and a good observation as well. Question. We have another question by another participant, by an adult, Bhante, which I'll read out now. Theruvan Saranai Bhante. Once I mentioned in a report about popping out of suicidal thoughts. Those that appeared a few years back were hidden, then resurfaced while the practice continued. There's an urge to share the update, but on the other side, it doesn't want to express or talk about it. Initially, it's like things are not popping out to say, popping out to say. It's like something stopping the expression. Anyhow, rarely do those fade away, and they are powerless, blurred, no urge to inquire about that further. Besides the practice, as Bhante once said, yoga, enjoying nature, walking outdoors and hobbies, etc., were helpful to face the situation so far. Started sharing experiences via art and storybooks. Now, what is created as an art or craft can be enjoyed only for a while, and after that it becomes nothing. It was understandable with practice. There was a tendency to keep occupied, to keep the balance. Sometimes it's like it knows no use in whatever occupied, but it keeps doing it. Sometimes there's no motivation to engage in anything, and that is accepted and stays with that boredom. A few years back, started using affirmations and being grateful before sleeping. Gradually, it didn't feel the same. There's no urge for those as early. Those don't have any weight and are noticed as a fading thing. It is reduced just to be thankful in a few sentences, and it is done as a habit. Even though it feels fine being alone, it makes sure to break it by going out. Some days go by with no talks from others, and it is accepted. Sometimes goes with a few blurred memories and let them. Whether alone or not, it has found the balance. Although it gets stuck somewhere, sometimes it finds the way back home. Whatever connections are within boundaries, whoever was near got distanced. Outer experiences started to change when the changes started within. Overall, it was showing that fixing was needed within. Some thinking patterns and habits were reprogrammed via the practice and the repetitive lessons. Some patterns were reasons to attract certain people and situations. It always points out that it is very important to go through the situation while accepting it. If not, it repeats and checks again whether the lesson is learned or not. Thank you so much, Bhante, for the guidance. Thero Saranai Bhante. That's the end of the report, Bhante.
Yes, so the first and most important thing I will have to mention is simply revealing. Many people, they don't have the courage to do it. Here we don't speak out, probably we don't mention the name, but still many people, they don't have the courage to do it, right? So these things, these intrusive thoughts, these past trauma, these memories, they thrive in that hidden nature. You don't reveal this, and due to that, it thrives. These thoughts, these emotions thrive, right? It's like, when it is hidden in a dark, moist place, all the germs, all the bacteria will grow. But you throw it into sunlight and it becomes compost, right? So that way, you reveal this. Revealing is important, and simply by doing that, a lot of healing appears. And simply by revealing, we all get to know how we have similarities in our own minds. These thoughts, they are not foreign to, they are not common to only to you. It's not a unique thought about only for you. Even for others, these type of periods, thoughts are there, but they don't feel like revealing, they don't feel like talking about them, right? So the first and most important thing is simply the ability to reveal this, right? And by simply doing it, we go through a lot of healing. Then the second point is that you said in your meditation, these past thoughts started resurfacing, right? So that type of experience, it feels like a side effect of meditation. I was fine earlier, but these things started resurfacing, right? But you have to understand, if they are resurfacing, whether bodily or mentally, then there is more healing for you to go through. For example, some people, there are decades-old injuries bodily. They start aching pain in the meditation practice. Sometimes broken joints, broken bones, they start paining, aching. Right? So this person feels like, due to my meditation, my earlier injury was agitated. No, that's not the case. There was some healing left. And in the practice, you can feel that healing happens. Whether the bodily injuries or whether the mind-made ones. Right? So when you see these things resurface in your meditation, that means you'll have to go through little bit of more healing. And it's worth it, because if you keep it hidden, then one day it'll appear in a different form. If you don't allow the mind to heal, then they might appear in a different form. I know a person who is probably in his 50s, in his late 50s, I guess. And that person, in his meditation, started shaking like anything. Only in the walking and the sitting, formal meditation. And this person shakes like anything. It feels like some seizure or something. That's how it feels. Right? So he was saying, before meditation, I was fine. Only after the practice, this started. True, probably true. But still, you had something in your body that needed healing. Probably a poison due to some alcohol or something. Right? And that healing process appears in meditation like, extreme kind of a vibration, shaking nature. So he feels shameful to meditate in front of others. Other people are, making nasty comments at him. All those things are there. But somehow this person continued for many months. And now more or less done with that shaking kind of a thing in his body. No longer appears. Right? So it took many months for him to go through that healing process. But it's worth it. If you don't allow that healing, then someday might be some other disease might come in a different form, like a cancer or some other disease. Right? So this process, it feels heavy, it feels difficult. But this is the healing process that we have to go through. And that's important. And then the other thing is that doing various activities, and for the moment you are enjoying that, after a while it's no longer enjoyable. That's good in a way. We do many things that are not enjoyable after a while. In the moment we do it. In the moment we do it wholeheartedly. but after there's no real meaning in it. Right? If you find something that's real meaning, something with real meaning, then it's a trap. Right? Most of these mundane things like, art or storybooks, yoga, walking, doing gardening, all those type of things, you can't find a real meaning in it. Right? It's good. If you find real meaning in something, then you are caught, of course. Right? So do many things, enjoy them in the moment, and after a while, there's no real meaning in them. It's like all the projects that we do at Nissarana. Right? I have many manpower due to the yogis, and we do many projects. Like achieving targets kind of attitude. We have to do this, we have to complete this. Today is the last day, that type of attitude. After finishing the project, no real meaning. Even not going to see it after completing. Just for the sake of, doing it, we do. And when we are doing it, we are full serious. No jokes. No, you have to do this, do it on time. You have to complete, right? After completing, it is not something useful. Right? So we don't find any meaning in them. At least I don't find. Other people are searching for the meaning. Bhante, why are we doing this? That's their question. So they think I have some serious kind of a project going on here, and they are curious about it. So I also act like I am full serious about this project, and I have some big thing project coming after this phase. And they are also curious, and they want to find more details. What are we building? It's nothing actually, right? No meaning is there in the project. We are simply not building anything meaningful. That's the way of life. Otherwise, if you find meaning in something, then you are caught in that, right? So do these meaningless things more and more, and simply enjoy them in the moment.
Thank you, Bhante. That was very helpful. Yeah, I suppose until you get the next project. And thank you for that question as well, and all the questions. They've been really helpful to everyone as well, and we're learning. I'm mindful of the time, so I think we haven't got any more questions as well. So, and if you do have any questions, please keep them for next week, and any questions on your practice as well. They'll be to help you progress. I will now hand over to Sonali. Thank you, everyone, and Bhante for all the help and advice. Thank you, Sonali.
Thank you, Samantha. So it is, we have gone a little bit over time now, so I will begin to end the session. Thank you to everyone who shared reports with us, who joined us today, and especially Bhante, Homagama DhammaKusala Thero, for your continued guidance in this program for us. And we can't forget the Chief Abbot of Nissarana Vanaya, Venerable Udayiriyagama Dhammajiva Mahathero, whose idea was to initiate this program. May you both use these merits to improve your own practice as well. Thank you to the organizers who are working really hard to bring you this program every week as well. And if you want the recordings, it is in the YouTube channel now as well. If you need any help for anything, please message us or email us on beginnersnv@gmail.com. We're more than happy to help you or redirect you to the right links that you like as well. As usual, we will meet 1 p.m. at Sri Lankan time, and I hope you all have a happy and mindful week ahead. I will now end the session for everyone.